Good morning, you're in the back room with Becky. It's a marvelous Monday. And Miserable Mentions will not be our reality star uh, cast from the Housewives or anything else. My miserable mention today goes out to the father of the Powell children, Stephen Powell, in an incident that occurred in Washington State. Now, this has been a long, drawn-out situation. Now, if you watch Nancy Grace, you know about it. The wife came up missing in '09. They say that the father took the children on an overnight camping trip, and it was the blizzard. Okay, now these kids was 3 or 4, 2 or 3 at the age when this happened. And now the children have begun to tell there's a custody battle going on between the grandparents and Stephen Powell. It was. And I think what precipitated the action that happened that ended the lives of those children and Stephen Powell was that they were getting close to the information. This is an ongoing. You know, your murder trials don't have no statute of limitation. And the only way that you get out from under a murder trial is they find you innocent and they can't retry it. It's called double jeopardy. Howsoever, they did not have this case closed. These children were now starting to remember things. And everybody had their suspicions because that's why the children were with the grandparents in the first place. They started to tell their grandparents things. I don't know, by the way the story was told, how much was reported to social workers who were involved in the day's incident. The social worker took the children to the home for a visit. Now, see, first of all, in Black America, you would have been meeting at McDonald's. You would have been meeting at the Walgreens or the Walmart somewhere. You would not be getting those kids off to yourself and not in a private home because that's not safe. We had a social worker that was murdered here because one of her clients was off of his meds. She went to do a home visitation and he subsequently had stabbed his mother and then he began to slice and dice this social worker. Now, I believe the social worker should be protected. I also believe the social worker should be held accountable. I know that sounds harsh, but if you think, if there's any question, and the parents or the grandparents come saying, well, the kids are telling us, you know, and I know they probably were like, nah, they just saying that because they don't want these kids to go to this father. Well, I wouldn't want them to go either. Something inside somebody should have told them, this is a questionable situation. I don't think we want to send those children to the home. Let's have, first of all, have some policemen there. Or let's have them meet at the McDonald's. But see, that's a different kind of value system. And he was Caucasian male. For all practical purposes, he was successful. Had never really done anything wrong. Up until the disappearance of his wife, he wasn't suspect of anything. And here's where I got a problem. You all know how I feel about the children. And if you don't think that this world is, if we're not in the end, we at the last chapter. It might be a big chapter, but this craziness with the weather, this craziness with how many children have actually been killed and murdered since the 1950s. Almost as many as died in the slave trade. Something wrong with that. So, our value system changed after the 50s. The 60s brought us into a rebellious, unsettling period where we didn't trust our government and we wanted to take responsibility, so we took it to the street. Then we move on into the 70s and it's free this and free that and we have some equality and we forget that you might have won one battle, but the war's not over. The war on poverty. The war on equal rights for all human beings and animals. Equal representation under the law. Fair circumstances for all. If you have, you know, the first one they tell you when you're in a murder trial, the first people they look at is the closest people to them. I never forget when my brother was murdered. I spent half of the evening. They didn't even tell my mother that my brother was dead. until I got there. And I had to go and look at the body once again. But they had me as a suspect. So they held me and questioned me, interrogated me until they just, they said, well, she's telling the truth. And she's in such a state of shock. It's almost unfair to be questioned her this way. Now, I know that they had that thought in their head that this man is probably the one that killed his wife and that there's some reason to not trust him. But at what point did you think it was okay? Once those children started saying things, they were not safe. He didn't kill himself because he had remorse. Oh, he left a note, I'm sorry, goodbye. You ain't sorry. If you were sorry when you pushed that social worker out, you would have kissed your kids and pushed them back out too. It's alright. It's not alright, It goes against all of our Judeo-Christian ethics. But, he saved the state some money. We don't have to execute him. They don't have to execute you in Washington State. You did it to yourself. But right there, I would just nail a guilty verdict on him for the murder of the children and the mother. Because he did it. Who gets that death because children saying something? Unless what they saying is the truth. I'm disgusted. I'm morally outraged. When I come in here with pajamas on, no makeup, nothing done to my hair. I just don't care about what I'm looking like, but I hope you hear what I'm saying. I remember a line from a play, and it was The Color Purple, and the woman says, a woman child just ain't safe in a house of men. Well, now we have to say children are not safe in a world of adults. It's time we start. We got work to do. We're going to all be held accountable to what happened to those children. Just like we held accountable for the children that are missing and murdered and exploited in the state of Missouri. Because evil flourishes when good men do nothing. Somebody else was worried too and said nothing. Nothing. I don't want to get involved. I don't know about you, but the Super Bowl just kind of went wah wah to me. Because there was other things going on in the world news that I thought was far more relevant. And I'm glad the Giants won, The Patriots stay going to the Super Bowl. They was getting the big kid. The Giants hadn't won in 4 years. It's in the last 2 years. I said the years of the underdog. They said it was almost the Patriots game. Well, almost ain't good enough. You in the back room, Becky. It's a marvelous Monday, and I might as well mention going to the family, the Stephen Powell, your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister. All of them knew you was a little bit crazy. Didn't nobody say nothing. Nothing. If you was a black man, you wouldn't even been free. If those were little black children, you would have been, like I said, at the McDonald's, because everybody knows, as Phaedra says, that there's a higher rate of murdering children and spouses among Caucasians than it is black. But blacks are known to be violent, so okay, let's just treat all of them the same. But when we come to our Caucasian brothers and sisters, we decide that, he don't look crazy enough because he can keep his lights and shit on? That's horrible. Past horrendous, heinous, horrific. A sin against God. I hope those little boys can rest in peace, and I hope that, we will start paying attention. I said this about the case here with Lisa Irvin. I said this about Casey Anthony. I've been saying this about children since I was grown enough to have some credibility and get some training in advocacy. You want to see if something is really, really wrong? Listen to the children. Watch the children, how they act, how they play, or how they act out. Will tell you if there's a stable environment at home or not. So I hope that today we will dedicate to paying attention to our children. Super Bowl is over. Football is over. We still got basketball. But don't get so involved in your own pursuits and interests that you forget that them little Powell children could have been your neighbors across the street. I challenge you to do something this week for somebody other than yourself. You see a problem in your family, you need to correct that. Let's stop turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to problems that are occurring with children, because children grow up and they turn into effed up people if they had an effed up childhood. I'm just saying. There ain't nothing funny about it today, and I'm sorry. You're in the back room with Becky. It's marvelous Monday because we got up today. But don't let your time be wasted. Don't let your living be in vain. Don't let the gift of speech be given to you only for you to repeat utter nonsense. Let's stand up and say, it's time to change some of the laws and some of the rules about how children are handled. On one side, you're taking children out of black homes like 90 going west. But then when it's another race or ethnicity, you almost it's almost like that old saying, white is right. And I'm not trying to make it a racial thing, but I am seeing that there's a difference in the way these cases are handled. And if Casey Anthony was a black woman, she'd be in jail. If the urban family was a black family, they'd be in jail. This man knew he was on his way to jail, so he decided he'd rather just go to hell and take the children out with him. Selfish. Heinous. And if you're sacrificing your children because you're mad at the husband or you're mad at the mama, the baby mama blues or whatever, don't take it out on the children. Just because you're in a mess, the children don't have to be in a mess. Peace, love, and understanding always. Thank you, Dr. James.